Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Author's Corner. Get ready for a whirlwind tour of the latest and greatest reads and the fascinating stories behind them. Join us as we chat with authors and newsmakers from all over the world, diving into their journeys and creative processes. And now, here's the host of Author's Corner, the Emmy Award-winning Kate Delaney.
So pleased to welcome to Author's Corner, Maureen Meehan. Boy, oh boy, she has written this Mary McIntosh series, and she's got a new book out called Rodeo. I mean, first of all, I'm in love with the cover, which I rarely say. And people who know that I've interviewed thousands of people, I got to be honest, Maureen, I rarely say that, but it's incredible. And we'll talk about that and then the road to writing these books, the whole thing. So thanks for joining us on AC.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
Okay, so let's talk about the road to writing these novels. How did it take place in the first place? What motivated you?
I wish this was a happier story, but my legal secretary was brutally murdered in 1996, and it was very foreseeable by her estranged husband, and it really was life-shattering. She had 2 young children. She was stabbed to death. And so I started writing to keep her alive in my heart. And she was my protagonist in the first several novels, just having her there in a legal support role as an attorney, a young attorney. And she could have been one easily. She was very smart paralegal. And after her started writing just therapeutically, I started realizing how much I loved the craft of fiction. And so I took a legal writing course at UC Irvine, and I had a professor that was fantastic. And that's when I started writing Dying to Ski. And courtroom drama, I love to ski. I love Jackson Hole. I'm from Wyoming, and it's a near and dear to my heart. So I crafted Dying to Ski, which is a pharmaceutical giant dispute between 2 partners. And one of them ends up dead on the ski slopes of Jackson Hole, and his partner's accused of killing him. And so the story unfolds as to a lot of plot twists and turns as to how that unfolds. So we take it to the next one, which is Snake River Secret. In this novel, Mary McIntosh's, I call her Mac, her legal secretary is murdered in the Snake River. And so I kind of bring it to fruition as far as how I felt about losing somebody near and dear to me, and Mac's fight for justice to at least have some closure with respect to the loss of this paralegal legal secretary. Then I think I kind of transitioned out of missing Lisa. Enough time had probably passed that I started writing Powder River Poison. And this is based in Sheridan, my hometown of Wyoming. And it is based on Buck Brannaman's ranch. He's the horse whisperer, if anyone is familiar with that movie, but book. And he's just a really neat man. He owns a pristine ranch outside of my hometown and where he trains horses. Well, a company came in from, I think it was Chicago, and they bought the mineral rights under his ranch, and they started fracking for methane gas. And when they frack, they drill down, and it pumps up all the salt water out of the earth. It flooded his ranch. It ruined the pastures. It freaked the horses out. It's very noisy. It vibrates. And it ultimately poisoned the Powder River in that area. And, grouse, pheasant, I mean, all wildlife suffered greatly, but he had to move his entire production, his horse training elsewhere to other ranches. And it was very disruptive for a long time for him. So that's what Powder River Poison is based on. And it's based on the trial that ensued as a result of the damage to his property. And one of my very good friends who I used to work for when I was in high school, he was an attorney. He handled the case. So he gave me the trial transcript, and I was able to really dig into that courtroom drama. Next, I went to Pandemic Predator, and I wrote it in 2008. And I wrote it about a serial killer who takes the H5N1 bird flu out of China, and he infects women all over the world with this leaves a signature tattoo on their inner thigh. He sexually assaults them. And because they're in the business of prostitution, they infect millions of other people. And this goes global. It's a pandemic. It shuts down the world, much like COVID, which is so odd. So next I went to Poison by Proxy. It's a Munchausen by Proxy book. It's about a pristine family in Sheridan, Wyoming, and how the mother is accused of poisoning her youngest of 4 children. And Mac defends this little boy as kind of minors counsel to try to figure out what's happening to this kid. Why is he failing to thrive when his 3 older siblings are great athletes, great students, great everything, and this little boy Levi is just shriveling. So she defends him in a lawsuit and trying to figure out who's poisoning this little boy. The 5 I wrote about my college roommates, and we were supposed to meet at my cabin in Colorado one summer for a girls' long weekend. And none of them, they all came up with excuses at the end. So I'm up there for a week by myself at 9,000 feet with nothing to do but hiking and sitting alone with my computer. So I tortured them with the 5. It's a serial killer based on another true case out of Rhode Island. This man, I think his name was something Chandler. He was a serial killer at age 12 in Rhode Island, and he was put in juvie until age 21. But the law in Rhode Island at the time was no matter what you did, at 21, you got released. Not even on parole, probation, nothing. You just got set free. Well, this man, he was a huge kid. At 21, goes out on a killing spree again. And again, foreseeable. So I took this kid to Wyoming, and he coins himself as a lost hiker, but what he is really a serial killer. And he tells each of these 5 ladies they were roommates in college and now they've gone their different ways. He said, one of your husbands hired me to kill one of you. You have to figure out who it is. And it pits these ladies against each other because one of them knows that one of them had an affair with the other one's husband. There's all kinds of drama that goes on between these or among these 5. And that's what he does. He separates them at the cabin and tortures them. So that's the 5. And that gets us forward to Rodeo. Rodeo is based in Sheridan, again, Wyoming, and it's about the Sheridan Wyo Rodeo, which is in July every year. It's on the circuit. It's a very famous rodeo, and it is extremely well attended, big purses, etc. But the highlight of the night starts with what's called the Indian relay races. And the title, you saw the cover of the book. That is a photograph my sister took in July of the Indian relay races. And these are Native Americans from all kinds of different tribes, and they compete. And there's 3 horses in the corral. They have to take a running start, bareback, no chaps, nothing, jump on this horse that's moving, and go around the fairgrounds once, and then they come back in. They have to jump off that horse, jump on the next one, and they do 3 rounds of this. And whoever wins goes to the final night, which I believe is on the Saturday, and it's like $100,000 purse. So there's a big prize in it for these Native Americans. They're very athletic. Sometimes they're not sober. It's really everyone goes for the 6:00 Indian relay races. And if you stay for the rest of the rodeo, that's up to you. But that's the highlight. And I showcase a lot of the history of Wyoming, the history of rodeo. But the plot is more about a serial killer, female, who is snatching loner, kind of juvenile teenagers who were kind of loners. And she is a carnival clown. So that's how she's in disguise all the time. And these kids would have no idea that the lady in the haunted house is, clown in the haunted house is not a good character. So and then I take it from the Sheridan Wyo Rodeo down to Frontier Days, which is a big rodeo in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And she repeats this crime. And then it goes to the Wyoming State Fair in Douglas. And the process is that Mac is now she's the prosecuting attorney. She's no longer a defense attorney. She's decided to take up being the county counsel prosecuting attorney in Sheridan. And she's got to try to figure out who this person is that killed 5 teenagers in their hometown. It's a small town in Wyoming, and, news travels fast. So obviously it's fiction, but that is Rodeo. And Mac has to prosecute this person.
When people read Rodeo, what do you hope they take away from that particular novel?
I hope they take away the history of Wyoming. I go deep into women's suffrage. That's the first state that granted women the right to vote. Even though people think Podunk, Wyoming, out in the middle, but I describe the mountains, the beautiful, the Jackson Hole, but where I grew up is in the crown of the Bighorn Mountains, and it's just majestic. Purple Mountain Majesty, it's really a beautiful state. I highlight how kind the people are. People are generous and kind and genuine. Bruce Willis got a flat tire driving to Jackson once, and 3 or 4 pickup truck cowboys got out and helped him change his tire. He didn't know how to change a tire on a rental car from Denver. And he wanted to give these guys money. And they're like, no, this is just this is what we do. And I think he wrote an article about it, how he just couldn't believe how kind people are there. And it's genuine. So I want people to get away and realize the kindness of a place. If you live in LA or New York, Boston, where people are honking and they drive like maniacs, in Wyoming, you let people merge when they're joining the interstate. Sure. It's just a different feel. And then when it comes to rodeo is such a big part of the West. And ranchers, rodeo, they work really, really, really hard. And the value of hard work, the fact that your kids in the family have to work the ranch before school and after school and do all their homework and everything else. And the Native American culture that, really promulgates a lot in Wyoming. The natives are revered. They're loved. They're admired. The living off the land, somewhat nomadic, in a time when they were kind of pushed out onto reservations. And I think that when you read about this Indian reservation, you see that people go to the rodeo for that alone sometimes, that people love this culture. So, rodeo ends at the Hole in the Wall. That's where Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid hid out after their incident of cattle rustling and bank robbery. And I love describing this area because unless you've been there, it's part of the Oregon Trail. The Rock is in Wyoming, where everyone signed in before they dispersed. For Lewis and Clark. So it's just the history of the state is quite fascinating.
Boy, I'd agree with you. I've been there and skied badly, but also toured around. And for everybody watching this, listening to us, 100%. I mean, you obviously are a daughter, I'll call you, of the state. But as somebody who grew up in one of those big cities, going there, I didn't want to leave. It is incredible. It's like that eye candy. And you're right. The people are so genteel, I would call them, and always willing to jump in. And how do the people, I would imagine the people from Wyoming, the people you still know, they have to, in a way, love that you feature Wyoming in these Mac novels.
They love it. They can't get enough. Rodeo's in production. It just got uploaded to the Ingram Spark. So it's going to be, I think, ready to order tomorrow. I just went to my 40th high school reunion, and I did a book signing for my dating books there. But when I told them there was like 200 people in my class that showed up for this. When I told them I was writing this, and I was asking a lot of questions from people who still live there, because I don't still live there, but I visit every year. And my parents still live there. My little sister and her family still lives there. So, and I still keep in touch via Facebook or those sorts of things. And people were so excited. They loved the series, particularly the ones that are in Sheridan or Jackson Hole, just because of everyone's gone to Yellowstone. You can see it. You can feel it. You can feel the town center of Jackson. And then Sheridan's like a quintessential Western town. It's always in the top 10 beautiful Western towns. And I really try to highlight all those things. The Mint Bar is famous. There's a famous quote in Wyoming, "Meet you at the Mint." And that's where everyone meets. It's a watering hole. It's so old school. I describe it in detail in Rodeo because it's just Classic.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And your enthusiasm, it's just bar none, which is great. And that's part of the deal, I think, with the Mac series, with the books. Also, your legal background, right? They say you write about what you know, and that's what you know.
It is. I mean, I was a lawyer for a long time in state of California, but I became a judge, and I'm a mental health judge, and I take it to my heart. I love helping people. We're a collaborative team, our courtroom, and all we do is help people with mental health challenges, trying to get them services, housing, medication, a warm bed, and whatever they need. And so I do take a lot of my energy from the mental health court and the experience I have with people that are suicidal, or they're having a bipolar moment, or they're schizophrenic and things aren't going well for their lives and they burn out their families. And we try to create a family atmosphere with our team, and been doing it for 19 years. So I do bring a lot of that, I think, with us into the journey of crafting novels and being very accepting of other people's. We all have our flaws. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. And mental health is underrated and under talked about in our country. And I do try to bring it to life in some of these novels, that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to ask for help. And I love it when our patients ask for help and we're able to provide that through social services or behavioral health, services. It's important and proud of it.
Yeah. And good for you for doing that. Absolutely. So I have to ask, what's next? I mean, exciting. Rodeo comes out, boom, gets the bounce, and
Okay.
you birthed these books.
I'm glad you're sitting down. My next book is, again, based on a true story. It's called Deputy Dog. Dog is spelled D-A-W-G. Are you really, if I say it, it'll go crazy, but it's about a sheriff that is killed in Nederland, Colorado, which is where my cabin is. And it's a true story. It happened in 1971. Well, this guy was part of a gang. It was kind of a spinoff of the Charles Manson gang, but it was the New York version of them. They all moved to Boulder, Colorado and Nederland. They're total hippies, but they're druggy hippies. These aren't nice hippies. These aren't like peace, love, and all that. They're dangerous. Well, Deputy Dog he's a midget for real. He's like under 4 feet tall as a grown man. And he's very much into peddling drugs and harming people. But they're at the Pioneer Inn in Nederland, and he gets upset over, gosh knows, I don't know what. He shoots the sheriff, drags him out, shoots him on his way to his car, and hides his body up in the mountains and takes off and disappears, and was on the lam like 30 years before he was finally caught. Wow. So that is Deputy Dog. So that's my next one. And, after that, I have another one in the works that's called Pumpkin Prairie. It's based in Wyoming again. And it's part of there's an existing, there's minerals in Wyoming that might get sold to countries like Russia. And, without getting too deep into it, these are minerals that might fuel a missile, and they trek them out of Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, through Canada and over the strait. And it exists to this day. And it's a pretty weird story as how they can extract this kind of metal and get it out of the country, and everyone looks the other way. I'm not going to point fingers at politicians, but there's been a certain number of them over the last 2 decades that have just turned a blind eye to it. And when you think about countries like Russia getting a hold of this kind of, mineral alloy, it's kind of scary. So that's the next one after this. But I'm working on Deputy Dog as we speak.
No, I love that. And so, of course, people can get your books, all the things we talked about, Mary McIntosh novels, all the things that we mentioned on Amazon, yes. Barnes & Noble, wherever great books are sold. Would you send anyone anywhere else?
No, I think any marketplace is great. And they're all available on my website, which is MaureenMeehanBooks.com. So they're all available through that. But I think the fulfillment is best on Amazon. I'm not pushing Bezos on anybody, but it's just, they have such good service.
Mm-hmm.
He's mastered the craft of getting people what they want as soon as possible. So, but anywhere, Barnes and Noble is great. I did my very first book signing there, and they were super hospitable and wonderful. So yeah, any place you can buy books.
Maureen Meehan, you are wonderful, and congratulations on Rodeo. We can't wait for Deputy Dog and everything else that you have coming out in the future. So thank you so much for coming on Author's Corner.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been my pleasure. You are such a pioneer of a woman, breaking glass ceilings for the rest of us when we couldn't get into sports or radio, or there's a lot of other things, being such a successful public speaker and motivational speaker. You are a privilege for me to be able to spend time with, and I'm just so proud of what you've done on behalf of women all over the country. You've really been a pioneer of all pioneers.
Wow. Well, coming from you, that is a huge compliment. Thank you very much.
Midwest charm. You're easy to be around because you can tell you're Midwest, hostess. And it's a pleasure to be in your company.
All right. I love that. Thank you. And again, Rodeo, woohoo. Just a wonderful book. It's because I got a secret copy, and
yes, you did.
Cover is beautiful. You will all love it. So once again, thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a sneak peek.
Yeah.
Here's the cover. It's my sister took it, and it is the Indian relay races. So I love this cover. It's my favorite of all time.
That is so cool. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take good care. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you.
All right.